It's live now. Hi, Khôi, please, your microphone is not on yet.
Sorry. Hello, guys. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a live session on um, going to university, specifically with, having one speaker as university tutor and one speaker as a fellow student. So we're going to try to have a really insightful conversation, hopefully, to gain more knowledge on how this university gig works. Because I know for a fact, for from experience, that I'm in grade 12. I know how elusive the admissions process and how the prospect of being in university can be. So I'll try to get the most out of each parties to hopefully help you guys gain a better understanding going into college. So first of all, let's try to get to know our fellow speakers better. Okay, Zaming, can you introduce yourself a bit?
All
Say
right, hi everyone. My name is Min. Right now, I'm a third year student at the University of Toronto, and my major is mostly about media and kind of a bit about management as well. But yeah, that's very much about me.
Hmm. uh Miss Vanang also told me to get you guys to talk a bit about your passions, because you guys both are very passionate people about and are very committed to what you think, um, to what you guys do and what you think is right. So, Zamin, could you explain a bit what you like to do?
I'm not really sure about it though, but if you talk about passion, I would say I do have one thing, which is photography, I would say, because I've been doing that for more or less 5 years already, ever since I was still in middle school and up until now. And uh, next year is gonna be my 5th year, like fully 5th year. So I understand, like I understand the process of producing, like how to produce a good image, as well as how to tell a decent story through using the visual aspect of the image. So I kind of like, when talk about photography, I would say I have the most knowledge about that areas compared to, let's say, other, like, scientifics or biology, physics or something like that. I'm not really that into those kind of areas.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you have any like question about photography in general, I would be willing to address the question that you guys having.
Hmm. Thank you. Let's move on to Luca. Can you introduce a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Luca. So I'm in Hanoi. I currently work for RMIT University, where I teach a new foundation course that we've been offering for about 2 years. So it's basically a course to enter into RMIT at university. So I basically teach high school students, but it's inside of the university, which is a bit unique. Before that, I used to teach AS and A-level economics in Nguyen which is a private school here in Hanoi, and now I teach economics and statistics. So yeah, basically I always teach high school students, which is well very interesting for me. Yeah, I would say I'm passionate about um, understanding the psychology and the interests of high school students, and try to find a way to deliver some content, some knowledge. Um, and yes, about my studies, I did my BA in economics I mean, a few years ago, and then I continued studying finance and education in my master's. Yeah, and I'm in Hanoi. This is my about 8th year, so happily living in the city. But I slightly envy with Ming being in Canada, which I never visited, and I'm pretty sure he's having a really good time there.
Well, both of you guys are extremely incredible people, and for me personally, both of you guys have a lot of things for me to like soak in. I'm not just like a moderator, an interviewer in this podcast. I'm also the one who will probably be listening to you guys the most because one of the universities I'm planning to apply in is RMIT in Saigon. I'm planning to apply in digital media, and I also have some intentions of going to study abroad in Canada as well, somewhere around Vancouver or Toronto. So both of you guys will have a lot of things to offer for me. So I'm really excited for today. Um, let's start with a few personal questions with about yourself, your experiences, some specific do's and don'ts about university and stuff. So, and I'll try to connect the dots between Zaming, the university student, and Luca, the university tutors, to hopefully gain a more comprehensive um, insight into the matter of university. Let's start with Zaming. What was the transition for you from high school to university?
So the first thing that I would say, it's a totally different process of learning. So like if you came from a traditional high school system, especially in Vietnam, you would immediately realize that, oh, it's like the system here, at least in North America, it's totally different compared to um, high school and middle school and so on, because you have total control over your schedules, as well as like you can pick whatever course you like, and then you have to manage your own like your own learning, your own schedules. You have to plan out everything like pretty much from the early stage when you first get into universities already. So it's that would be something that I say like is the most different. So when I was doing first year, it actually hit me hard because I wasn't really prepared that much for the transition, and then well, I paid the price for that. So right now, I kind of like learn from my own mistake by the hard way. So something that I would say is like to prepare before the transition from high school to like to university here is actually you need to know um like the path
Mm.
that you're gonna take, that like the general path or the general plan that you kind of follow for the entire years, like so 3, 4, 5 years of universities, because that's just like that serves as the foundation for your study. Without you're still gonna be fine, but you just gotta pay a bit more for university, and clearly you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Like I feel like I've always envisioned like the transition from high school to university as like all of a sudden you're this like naive kid and then all of a sudden you got everything figured out. It feels it feels a lot more human to, have someone also go through
uh
a rough patch.
like eventually people will have to people will have to experience that. It's not something like that terrible
Hmm.
when it hit you, but it's a valuable lesson that I would say, because it's not just about your study. It's more or less about like your managing your own life, and then like being able to control all the fact not really all the factors, but being able to adapt to those repeat factors, and just being able to control engineers, like that is what I'm always seeking for ever since I uh realized that like how this thing had been working for me.
Mm. Thank you. So yeah, a lot of very interesting and very human answer. Um, uh, so about you, Luca, what is or how differently does university tutors teach or help students compared to the way that you saw teachers in, Hanoi or anywhere else in Vietnam, grade schools in Hanoi teach students?
Um, yeah, so I just want to clarify that I'm like teacher the foundation program. So we are basically bridging between high school and university. So we're offering this new program. Um, I think it was introduced in Saigon in Ho Chi Minh City about 3 years ago, and now it's a second year we run it in Hanoi. So basically, we have students that finish their grade 10 or 11, or even grade 12, and but maybe they're not ready yet to enter university, or maybe it's actually too early for them to enter university because they're just in grade 11, and they want to enter RMIT in one of the bachelors. So what we do is we try to kind of bridge the gap between where they are in terms of skills and knowledge, and also like studying habits, and where they should be once they enter university. So as much as I work as a high school teacher, I also have to be mindful of what the students will face as they enter university. So, for example, I all our lessons are face to face. So I meet the students, and it's really similar to what high school would be. But then I have to remember that they will be doing a lot of research at university. So I need to teach them how to do academic research and how to plan their timetable. So, for example, our program is only 20 hours a week, which is a normal foundation program in Australia or in the UK, but actually it's a much lighter workload compared to a Vietnamese high school program. But then we have students that may struggle because they don't need to self-study at home. So what I need to do is have conversation with the students saying, this is how your schedule look like. You may start 10 a.m. today and finish at 3, but then where is your self-study time? Because we don't really monitor them in terms of what they do after, before after classes. So they need to learn that kind of independence, and well, they cannot pick their own subjects, as Zaming said, at that stage yet, but they need to decide where they can allocate their time to study. And that it might seem obvious for university students, but it's not for high school students. And just the fact that they can leave the university and go home by 3 in the afternoon, it doesn't mean they can just, play games or hang out with their friends. They actually have to say, okay, I will study. And it is a bit of a challenge, but I think it's a really useful skill just later in life, because once you get the job, you don't want to be working all the time. Like you have to schedule your time. You need to make, you have to find time for your family, for your friends, for your hobbies, and as well as you have to deliver your company. So that's the main struggle, time management. And we are basically trying to make sure students don't learn the hard way, as Zaming said, even though some students may actually get that eventually. And that's kind of a big part of my job. So it's not just the subject itself, it's really telling students, okay, what are you going to do this afternoon after class? You cannot just go home and open Netflix. You got to do some studying, and then you can have your free time, and you can socialize.
Yeah, so like really, really big transition from like grade school to university. Like you have like these 12 years of uh a surefire schedule just telling you what to do for like 5 to 10 hours, and then all of a sudden in university it's like the world is your oyster, but like for some people, it may become a very hard thing to visualize because um, at the same time, you have a lot of opportunities right at your window, but like at the same time, if you can't manage between like what you want to create, what you want to achieve versus like your short-term gratification, it's gonna be pretty hard for a lot of people. And I get that because currently I'm trying to manage that two sides of me, the try to achieve what your try to hone your independence and try to balance your, leisure time as well. I think that's one of the main struggles that we all have to deal with going into college. Let's move on to Zaming. How different, I guess, is going back to uh the earlier questions, but let's try to be more specific. How different is learning in university compared to back when you were in grade schools?
Well, again, like in high school, there's like, usually it's gonna be separate students gonna be separate into like, let's say 4 or 5 classes with,
Mm.
let's say around 20 to 30-ish student per class, right? And then in each class there's gonna be each homeroom teacher gonna responsible for taking, well, I would say taking care of those students. But that's just like that's for high school. When you go to a university college, let's say you will go to university or a college, you you have to like, again, pick the course by yourself in most school, I believe. And then you also have to manage and control your own study as well. That there's nobody gonna like care about whether you finish your assignment or not, whether you attended the midterms or your final term test or whatsoever. You have to be able to control all of those things. You have to be able to balance your time with your own studies, because there's nobody like there's nobody out there who's going to take care of you, or say that, oh, you have to do this assignment and it's because it's going to due tomorrow, or you have to review this sections, read through this paragraph, finish this essay, finish the whatever documents or papers. There's nobody going to tell you to do that. You have to be able to like you have control over all of that. If not, well, the school, depend on your performance, like your grade performance, the school either gonna put you on suspension, or you're good. But like in most cases, I've seen a lot of students who like transition from high school into university or a college, where they was like, oh, they acquire a lot of free times. Like there's nobody tell them what to do, right? So they kind of like spend all of their time on doing whatever they like to do, like, Netflix or games, or whatever other things that they do. But what they do not do is not finish the assignment, not reviewing the course materials, not finishing like you know reading the essays, or doing whatever requirement the course instructors tells them to do in order to let's say survive at that course. Like they fail to do all of that, and as a result they kind of like, yeah, you already know the answer. Like they
Yeah.
fail the course, and by failing the course, it's like, it's so there's gonna two thing about that. The course grade will go directly to your transcript. It is non revocable. The second thing is you have to uh pay more for the university, depend on what kind of course it is. So either it's gonna be elective. If it is elective, it kind of like you have more flexibility, but it is like, a necessary course for a certain program. Then you have to uh, pay more until you pass that course. And that's something like a lot of students have felt into when they first transition from high school to university, because they acquire a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes were made in the first steps into college, huh? I guess that is inevitable if we're talking about the first for something. There's always a first for something. So I want to link this question back to Luca. What do you think are the most common mistakes you see students make going into universities, going into majors and stuff?
Um, so I think what Zamin said is very important about the time management. And usually give my students the example of ice cream. I say, well, I could, because of course I don't live with my parents, and I could go home and I could just buy like a ton of ice cream and just eat ice cream for a month, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I just not tell my parents, they would never know. And I could do that because I'm an adult and I'm independent and I have my own money to spend, but then I'm just gonna get sick and my life will be miserable. So it's not because I could do something, I will do it, or I should do it. So that's the same for them, not just because they have the independence or the free time, they should do that. And that's kind of really the step that between like being in high school and being monitored by your parents and becoming independent. And you will make some of the mistakes, but also you need to realize the limits of your freedom, even when you have a much more freedom compared to your years in high school. That's a very common mistake. The other one is I think not to get ready for what you're going to study. So sometimes students they come to me and they say, "What should I study? Or what should I do?" And my answer is, I don't know, because I'm not you. Like I just teach you a subject. I met you for a few hours and mostly in an academic setting. So I don't know you outside of here. Like you don't know me outside of this classroom. And I think it's very naive and for teachers to just tell the kids, oh, you should do this or that,
Yeah.
because maybe they're good at economics because they study, but they hate the subject, which could be. So usually I tell them you really have to make this very difficult choice and you have to be as prepared as you can to choose your major. And as much as your parents want to help you, it's going to be your decision. And you should really gather as much information as you can. There are great YouTube videos about what a major in engineering will be like, what kind of jobs you can get. They should do a lot of research. And as much as this research is a bit daunting because you don't have the right answer and you will be struggling. And even when you choose a major, even if you totally enjoy it, you may just wonder, what if I had chosen a different one? That's inevitable. We all have that. But I think just doing a lot of research and kind of be skeptical in a way that you really want to know more and more. So gather as much knowledge and um, things you know about what you're going to do, because that would be very important. That will possibly decide, your future, your life. However, I also tell them changing is not a bad thing. So you may even get a whole degree in electrical engineering, and then you realize you love design. And we have time in life, and especially in nowadays, people change careers all the time. It's not necessarily that what you study will decide your whole future, and changing is not necessarily a weakness or a mistake or a failure. Actually, you might become a great designer just because you know more about engineering, which gives you a very analytical mindset, and maybe you will have like something more compared to other designers. So um, changing can happen, and it should be considered, but it shouldn't be completely feared, because that's just part of life. And you don't want to do something you hate just because you don't want to change. You have to change sooner or later.
You brought up two really great points there. First, about like um having a clear image of what your profession is going to be like. I feel like that's a lot of mistakes for students, because not everyone is has like enough passion to like, uh be able to have a clear enough vision for their future jobs and stuff. So students have a tendency to, close their eyes and just pick whatever the hottest job on the market is. So they don't really do enough research or have enough like a visualization in their head to what the next few years of their life are going to be like. So yeah, it all boils down to self having a clear sense of self-awareness and knowing your abilities and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people lack that nowadays.
Sorry, can I say, however, I think there is a certain degree of unpredictability that we have to accept.
Mm,
As much as we want to know what the future is going to be like, just that 3 years ago, we did not have any AI like ChatGPT or like similar. That did not exist. That was thought to be just out of reach for the next 20 years. And now we have it. And the range of things AI can do is astonishing. So let's say any of the grade 12 students listening to us now will get a job above at least 5, 6 years from now, which is a really long time in like technology terms. So we don't really know what kind of changes we're gonna have in those 5 years. Just smartphones were invented in 2007, and before that, we were communicating in a whole different way. This live stream did not existed pretty much before the pandemic. And now we can communicate across 2 or 3 continents. So I really think that as much as we want to control the future, we should accept that we don't know, and there's probably not a way of knowing 100%. Just because you will be getting a job 5, 6 years from now, and my job will probably change as much in the same amount of time. So it's just a part of our modern society that things do change all the time. So it's more about the ability to adapt
mm.
rather than the ability to predict.
Yeah. See, we were talking about university now. It has branched onto a whole new subject, but it's still about the future. See, the future is very daunting. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to consider, but I think the route to at least try to survive in such an ever-changing society is to uh, know yourself. And that also boils down to the valuable lessons that you will inevitably get in university because you paid a lot of money for it. You're gonna get a lot of valuable knowledge. So I want to ask Zaming, what are the most valuable lessons that you've learned in your time at university? Anything.
Well, I'll just pretty much for of the what I said earlier, it's to be able to control or adapt to a lot of the changes that Lucas stated earlier. It's like the technologies advance at a rapid speed right now, and unless you are someone who working for a lot of those majors tech company, it's really hard for an ordinary people to keep up with all the changes, all the advancement that technologies might become like in the near future. So it's something that I would consider to be a valuable lesson when you kind of like step into the a university is you have to be able to, no matter what, gain the ability to adapt to to the rapid changing world, because if not, you definitely gonna fall behind, and you don't want to fall behind because the job market right now is so damn competitive as well. And even if you manage to get a job, those I would consider are not quality jobs, because AI they create a lot of opportunities, but at the same times, the quality of the jobs are also decrease as well, because a lot of the jobs are being done by AI, and like those entry level jobs are being done like completely automatic, or done by some sort of like robotics um process or something like that. It's really, I would say it's really competitive right now, especially for undergrad student after they just finish their degree, because it's it's something that you cannot really complain about. So the only thing that I would say, it's well, just uh try to learn more, I guess. Try to adapt to the change. Try to kind of like create your own values, and your own like your own perspective, your own opinion on this ever-changing world. Like, it's the only thing that I would consider that AI cannot really mimic is your own, like, your own human being, your own opinions, your own perspective, your own lenses. It's really something that you should be able to, not really should be able, but you must like try your best to be able to kind of like gain the ability to adapt to whatever is like being tossed in your face.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So again, about AI, I think both you and I are interested in like the field of arts, and I
Mm,
guess the
yeah.
feeling of like um the influence of AI in like a specific field in arts, for example, is very tangible, is a very tangible feeling, I guess, for the both of us.
I
So
mean, it
I
is
guess,
a sorry, I'm sorry, but it is actually a pretty controversial topic actually, because AI, every like it for an artist, it usually takes a lot of hours to finish whatever works of him or her. But for an AI, you just need a few prompts, and it's already give you some like an usable image already, or whatever resource that you're looking for. And a lot of the time, those things like they actually have more problems. This, like, let's say the copyright licenses and
mm,
all sorts of, like, related to the copyright aspect, and then the, like, who get to benefit, who gets, like, who lost the benefit from that piece of generative image or videos, or equivalent mediums. It's like it's real, like, it's something that is still being debated. And even within the government right now, they still working toward to like trying to create an environment for, like, how should we use this kind of, like, how should we kind of like adapt to this kind of AI. How should they treat this kind of medium, as well as how should they, control over these things.
mm,
And but there's one thing that I'm pretty certain myself about these, AI generative things, is human sentinel values will never be able to, you know it's really hard to explain, but the values that an artist put into their works, it's something that AI, I believe, will not be able to, or if able, will take a lot of effort, like, a lot of manipulation from the person behind the AI. Or it's like it's really hard to replace the intrinsic values of human, where they
yeah.
put the effort into creating that piece of work. So it's something that I think a lot of artists should working toward to, instead of relies on these sorts of technologies. And yeah.
Yeah. I guess if we look on the bright side about AI, is that AI kind of like um discards the workforce, the level of workforce that cannot make the cut. In other words, the low level labor workforce. So by doing so, we should try to take that as an opportunity to hone our personal skills, skills wise and mindset wise about our own, jobs. All right, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. Remember, the topic is universities. Let's try to get back to the main topics for all right, from the start of our podcast, I've been asking you guys personal questions. Now I'll start asking you guys questions that both of you guys could answer to. I'll start with what are the things that you should do to get the most out of your time in college? Let's start with Mr. Luca.
So I would say have a schedule. So that's pretty obvious, right? It's just a make a schedule and know how you're gonna use your time. Just because you may find yourself with more time, but maybe it's kind of scattered around the day. So it seems like you don't have a lot of time because you have like lectures at different times, and maybe they don't really match up very well. So you might finish, let's say, 10 in the morning, and then the next class is 11:30, which you could easily just spend on your phone, just scrolling for 90 minutes. But actually, you have a 1.5 hour. You could go to the gym and then have a shower, and be fresh, ready for the next class. So um, the free time you will have, it's more dispersed. So you really have to do an active effort to use it in an effective way. But also you should kind of move from a very short-term view, let's say day by day, to more of a long-term view. Because, for example, in my classes, we always have assignments that maybe last 2, 3, 4 weeks. So it's not a typical homework for the day after. And in theory, you could just do no work for 3 weeks, and then you cram everything in the last few days. And that's a lot of the experience back in high school, just because you have so much work that you basically do everything for the day after. But in that case, it doesn't work well, because the quality of your assignment will clearly reflect that you just did it in a very short time, didn't have a chance to discuss with your teachers, with other classmates, and it's just like a rushed piece of work. So it's really adapting that this longer term view. So it should be ideally the whole semester, right? Since when you started till when you finish, but at least a few weeks ahead of you. So you should have maybe like a good timetable, like a calendar in your room. You should pin things somewhere where you see what happens. So you can actually you might be quite free this week, but then there will be a very, 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 very busy week ahead of you. So you should do some of the work now to be free then. And that's what I think really makes a difference between successful students, those that not only learn the most, but also they do it without being that stressed. And those students are always rushing. So for them, university is basically a deadline after a deadline after a deadline. And as much as that is part of the experience, it should be more, it should be kind of enjoying what you're doing. And because then life will also be deadlines after deadlines. So if you take it that way, it will never end. After you finish uni, you have your career. So really planning that from your daily time to like the semester.
All right. What about you, Zami?
We're actually forgetting a question. Can you just
What are the things that you should do to get the
oh,
most
okay,
out
okay.
of your time in college?
Well, again, as Lucas said, it's more or less about time, managing your own time. And well, at least from my own perspective, as a current, like, I'm still in undergraduate programs, I would say well, get your work done first, and then you can enjoy whatever you want to do. Like, let's say you have an assignment that is still, like, 2 weeks from the day it was announced. You could in fact, like, spend, let's say, an entire week doing whatever you like, and then for the last few 2-3 days start to work on assignment. I mean, if you don't really care much about like your the the output, like the quality, it's totally fine. It's like, it's it's been job done, right? So and then you're still able to pass the course. That's your choice. But if you decided to, let's say, spend your entire 2 weeks working on an assignment, like I mean not every day, but like let's say 2 3 day per week work on that assignment, and then you immediately start to see like, oh, there's you feels much better in terms of mental health, because I have seen a lot of students like, where they delay a lot of assignment till the very end, and then they kind of like just rushes everything, and then well, clearly as Lucas said earlier, the quality you can definitely see the quality, or how much effort they actually put it into um polishing that assignment. Uh, from like, if I have to say like, how I do these kind of things, uh even though I said that you should spend time, like, spend your time wisely, I do sometimes like kind of like push everything toward the very end like that, because it's not always like, you don't always have the choice to, like, sometimes there's uh the, like, let's say in the first week there's a course that's way more important that you should focus on, and then you can spend your time focusing on the less important course. I mean, all the courses are important, every course are important, but in terms of like, what kind of like, you have a priority list of what you have, like what things you got to finish first, and then if you follow that, I think you mostly will be fine, because I've been doing that for more than 3 years right now, and I'm still here. So it shouldn't be a problem. It's like, you don't always have to strictly follow a schedule, because sometimes you have to think about your own mental health as well. Like, you have to be able to uh spend time on doing your, let's say, developing your habit, play, hang out with your friends, play games as well, play games, watch movie and stuff like that with your friends as well. That's, to me, are important as well, because if you just focus on like the course materials, like focus on learning alone, it will not benefit you as much as someone who be able to balance between both, like social and academic. It's, finding the balance, a good balances, and then finding a good rhythm that you can, like finishing your works, and then still able to maintain a well mental, the mental levels.
Yeah. I think both of you has gotten a I've gotten very in-depth answers about what you should do um in college wise, in college studies, but rarely ever I have not heard much about, out of school work. For example, like part-time jobs or extracurricular activities, or just clubs and societies, or leisure time, stuff like that. What are your views on that? What do you think are the benefits? Is it beneficial? Is it unbeneficial? Start with Ming first. Is that Ming?
Okay, so for those extracurricular activities, like the student clubs, or those, let's say some special programs that you gotta like apply directly to the university in order to experience, I'll say sure, if you can, like if you can spend your time on that aspect as well, it will definitely benefit you, because let's say for club activities, it might not really help you with your like finishing your course, but at least you gotta, let's say you join a club you like, you good. At least you gotta share your own, like, you have your own voice. Uh, in an environment where there's people who are willing to listen to whatever you got in your mind.
Mm,
And about extracurricular activities, it's depends, like, because some of them will not give you any like credit toward your degrees. Some of them will, like, it's you don't really want to spend too much time on like you doing all of those activities because um eventually you will burn out because you don't spend enough time for, let's say, resting
mm,
or doing whatever you like. It's it's really depend from people to people, but for me at least, I am not really a fan of like joining too much clubs or doing a bunch of different activities like extracurricular activities because um I more like to focus on my own habit. Sorry, not habit, but my own hobbies, and then my focus on my own, like, my own passion, and then kind of like polishing whatever I'm doing right now. So yes, my short answer will be yes. If you have chance, or if you can, give them a try and see if you like it or not. Because some people, they like it, but some, they just want to spend more time for themselves, and then they'll think whatever they're doing right now. So
mm.
it's really depend from people to people.
Yeah. Lot of decisions, free decisions are made when, going to university, when world is at your fingertips, when you're a lot more free. All right, this is the part where I've been waiting for the most. Um, Luca, what do you think you should include in your personal CV or portfolio to attract admissions? Apart from like at the accolades and the obvious re academic results, because this has been the most elusive thing for me personally. A lot of opinions on my parents' side, my teachers and stuff.
Yeah, it's actually very difficult. So I think there's so many experts that share their opinions. So first of all, I think it depends a lot where you apply to, because I think Vietnamese universities they mostly look at your final high school results. And I did most of my like post-grad education in UK universities, and UK universities mostly just look at your kind of credentials and academic achievements. So it's not that important to write, let's say, personal statement. It's
Mm,
just about your GPA, or whether you have some personal professional experience with what you're going to study. Um, I know for US, probably just North American institutions, it's more about the story you tell about yourself, such as, your personal statement, which I'm personally not very familiar with, but I think the main idea behind it is that you want to tell them the story about who you are, and what makes you willing or eager to join that institution. So if you're basically, uh, it could be like the whole story could be just some important moments of your life that made you realize, let's say, you want to study media or you want to study marketing. Um, it is very difficult because some students may just say, well, I honestly don't know, I just think it's interesting. Um, but I think you have to do kind of a self-reflection of what led you to that decision, even though sometimes it's kind of subconscious. So you just maybe, I don't know, you see someone close to you doing that, and you want to do the same. So you have to kind of pull out that story that maybe you don't even know that well. So if discussing about US, or I guess Canadian universities, it's more about telling the story, who made you the person you are today, and why they should basically pick you. So if you're like in a room with other 500 candidates, what do you offer them? And it's not necessarily that you have to be like the smartest, or you have to be like the best, but it's more about what makes you valuable for that institution. So I think it's the kind of conversation is not about having the highest GPA or having like the highest grades. It's more about showing that what you offer is valuable. It's kind of like when you go for a job interview, the company will not necessarily hire the best person in terms of like qualifications or I don't know, even like skills, because the best person could be a terrible team player, and then after that person joins the company, 5 people will quit, which is actually a bigger loss for the company than the gain.
Mm.
So they will look for the person that is the best fit for what they already have. And I think that's kind of the same perspective a lot of universities adopt. But I'm sure something that actually did apply to a Canadian university knows
Yeah.
more except my theory.
Oh, okay. What about you, Zami? Do you have any experience
Well,
on that
okay,
matter?
so drawn directly from my experience, I would say well, Clara, you need to have somewhat a decent let's say transcript from your high school, first of all, even middle school as well. And then secondly, you need like, okay, those personal statement, as Lucas said earlier, like, kind of like not all the school require, but you got to be able to like to present yourself in front of the school admission, and as well as being able to tell kind of like a bit about your passion, about like whatever things you enjoy to do. And thirdly, it's something that I I'm not sure how accurate it is, but from my own experience, and a lot of things that is happening in Canada right now is they look at they're gonna look at your family financial situation. It's something like, a lot of Canadian university are considering right now, because so currently, so just recently, the Canadian government, they just established a new laws about study in Canada. Is, a lot of like usually after you finish like college or university, you will get a 2 to 3 years postgraduate work permit, depend on yours, like, where which college or university you graduate from. But recently they kind of like uh they they took away a lot of you know the a lot of college right now, and some university, like a lot of them are in financial problem because they took away the kind of like the permission, like the student who graduate from that college or university can no longer obtain a work like postgraduate work permit. And because of that, um a lot of students are not like applying into those colleges, into your universities anymore. So because of that, like they are kind of like in a financial crisis situation right now. And for major universities, they will definitely consider whether you fit into their environment or not. But at the same time, they will consider like whether your parents or your families or whoever like support your financial can support you throughout your study or not.
Mhm.
It's not something that you have control over, but it is a factor to consider as well. Because if you like, let's say you have everything about yourself is outstanding, but then your let's say your family financial situation isn't really that great, you still have chance, but you will have to like enter a really competitive pool where students are seeking for scholarships. And Canadian university are known to be not really generous with scholarship as some university in the US. But it you still have chance, but it's just gonna be way more competitive. You gotta be able to like even stand out way more compared to fellow students. And it is a really, it's just the reality that you can't really have control over this, because uh university, like one or not, they are still like doing business. And in order to like doing business, they gotta like gain some sort of profit or a benefit from, you know, yeah, they it's something that we cannot have control over. So it's really like it's a really, important uh factor to look into before you actually choose, what are the university you are applying to, because one or not, a lot of students out there who like, who perform and are really great, but cannot go to like, let's say top 10 university or something like that because the tuition fee is way out of their reach. So they gotta set it out something less, attractive as an option for them. But it is something that, you know, it's play a huge role in like determine whether you can get into, let's say that shiny top jersey that you're looking for, or you have to set it out somewhere a bit more affordable.
Those were some of the most revealing, insightful 10 minutes of my life. That was some very good information. Very good information. I'll keep it in heart. Thank you guys. Thank you both of you. We have like 3 more minutes. I guess as Active Skills tradition, should end this on an inspiring note. I know both of you guys are like really exceptional people at, finding you find your footing in this world very well, and you guys kind of know what you guys are good at, what you guys should do, and your core values and stuff like that. I admire you guys a lot at that um part. So I want to ask Luca first. What is, the last message that you want to give out to your fellow, 12th graders viewers out there? A short message.
Yeah, I would say that I know choosing university is very difficult, and it is not more difficult for you than it is for the others. It's just it is very challenging for everyone, and just accept that there could be some mistakes, but those that look like mistakes today maybe actually can be opportunities. And there's plenty of time to change, to make changes. And sometimes some of the best things we get come really unexpectedly. So I wouldn't be over concerned, especially I wouldn't let fear stop you. There's that very interesting and nice quote that says we should mostly fear itself. And I think that's what you should not do as 12th graders, because that will stop you from researching, from trying, from asking other people. And so don't be fearful, because you're all in the same situation, and it's very complicated. But I'm very, very confident that you will sort it out and it will be excellent.
All right. What about you, Zaming?
Well, if I the first thing, I mean, not the first thing, but the last thing that I would say to 12 grade 12 student right now is just probably um be willing to get hurt. Like, I mean, not really get that kind of hurt, but willing to actually jump outside there. And then, no matter how much you actually life or, say university life actually kick you in the ass, something like that, just stand up again and then adapt to whatever like things I think tossed in your face. You will eventually learned, no matter how fast you learn or how slow you learn, you will eventually have to get used to these kind of things, because university is just the smaller pictures, like where after that is like, all sorts of things actually being, presented to you. So it's just a matter of time before you actually step it outside there. So it's for now, it's just I wouldn't say it's worry too much, but it's still something um, it's still something important to keep in mind, because it's want it or not, uh eventually a person will have to uh walk through this stage of life where they gotta experience all sort of these, you know, things that they don't want to go through. But
Mm.
it's something that is not like it's unavoidable. So just get prepared for that.
Mhm. All right. Thank you, both of you guys. It's been an amazing ride. Hopefully, you fellow 12th graders or, students who are uh younger than 12th graders can listen to this podcast as a pool of experience, valuable mindsets, and tips and tricks to help you gain a better picture of university as a whole. And as always, this is Active Skills, and take care. Bye bye.